Hello and welcome to episode 255 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. Joined as always is my main man, Snoog. How you doing today, brother?
Doing good, Dad. I mean, we're 2 days away from the season starting up, so I'm excited. The blood's pumping. We're about to watch Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes absolutely fire off a shoot-off to start off the season. And then we get to watch my Texans steamroll Anthony Richardson and the Colts on week 1. So I'm excited. There's a lot of good things happening.
Yeah, week one's right here. I mean, we are literally, it feels like it wasn't that long ago, Snoog, that we were talking about the 2024 prospects. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it was that long ago that we were talking about where they're going to land, how things are going to shake out. And then now we're starting to look into the 2025s and damn, like week one, Junty 6 touchdowns, McMillan 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's like Shador had 4 touchdowns. I love this time of year because we're not only getting into the real point scoring season, but now we're starting to see these 25 rookies pop off. This time period, and I know we're going to talk a lot about how we should go about those picks and those kind of things. But before we even start talking about what the season is, I mean, I have so many people coming and say, Dad, I didn't trade my 25 first yet. Should I be trading it for, James Cook? No, we're literally seeing what some of this class is. Judkins didn't have a big week one, but he's up in that area. Junty's up there. Shador, McMillan, Burden didn't have a big week, but he's going to be in there. Nick Singleton looked like he's back a little bit. There's this class is going to be really, really something special, and something that right now, Snoog, I'm just advocating to everybody in the Patreon. And guys, Patreon Discord is on fire right now. Like we added 60 new members this month. It's really catching on. People, how we know we have a good thing is we offer incentives on referrals. No one will do it. We've had one guy do it. The rest of them are like, I'm not letting anybody else in here. This is a best kept secret. And right now, the coolest thing, Snoog, is I just bought a DJ Moore jersey. So you and I, we went together on this. So it's going to be Smash More September. If you guys join the Patreon or if you guys add onto the YouTube, send us a screenshot or put a screenshot on one of our timelines that I'm going to post today. Put hashtag Smash More September. You're entered to win. It's an autographed, certified from JSA. We got it from Pristine Auction. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to give that away. But Snoop, I'm just telling everybody, hold on to that 25 first because there's so many good players to buy for a 25 second. Deontay Johnson, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Amari Cooper. Why spend a first on T. Higgins when you can get Amari Cooper for a second and hold on to that and get something premium? Why spend a first on James Cook when you could get, a running back like Joe Mixon for a second? And it's like so many people are so worried about those kind of things. That roster does not have to look sexy. You can fill in with Chuba Hubbard. You can fill in with Jerome Ford and use that 25 first down the stretch. And I know we talk about that a lot, Snoog, but this class just keeps getting sexier and sexier.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned this because the one thing that I love to highlight is we talked about this a few times on the pod this year is hold on to that first, see what your team can do in the first 4 to 5 weeks. Because most players that have a bad start are willing to sell at a significantly cheaper cost of their veteran players because they just think automatically, all right, I'm not going to make the playoffs. I need to get picks. I need firsts. I need seconds. Yeah. I want all old players off my team. Even though you could go 1-3 and then end up going 6-0 through the mid stretch and make playoffs. People just overreact. That's the community we live in. I've seen it time and time again. So hold on to that first. See what your team does. If your team starts off 5-0 and it's looking really damn good and you got the depth, take that first and use it to cheer up and go get a superstar to put you over the top. That's how I like to use my first. I don't like just shipping it off at the end of the summer before week one and seeing what happens unless I'm getting a superstar. But don't trade your first for James Cook, Rashad White. Just leave that junk for another person. Go get like a Travis Etienne or a Jonathan Taylor if you're really going to move that first.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about holding on to it at the right time. Like, I want to know it's week 8 and I'm buying that final piece because you make that trade for Derrick Henry right now. You can trade your 25 first. Derrick Henry goes down week 1. It is a complete lost pick. You know what I mean? Other guys are saying, you know what? I have my 25 first. I'm going to tear up from one guy messaged me the other day. He's like, I want to give up my 25 first from Devon Achane to get to Jonathan Taylor. I'm like, man, let me see your roster. Then I look at it. It's there's no bench. So it's like you just paid that first. Now all of a sudden that first becomes Tet McMillan instead of, like a late first, all of a sudden you're toast, man. Like those are the kind of moves. So we're here to just try to temper expectations. We break this season down into quadrants. You have week 1 through 4, see where you're at, right? Start making some tweaks. So if you're 3-1 and you need a running back, then we're going to go trade for Jerome Ford until Nick Chubb comes back. And then if you're, then we're going to play the second set of quadrants. So you're 3-1, you're 4-0, you know where you're going. You're 1-3 or 2-2. Okay, you're 0-4. Now it's time to start looking this way a little bit more, and start to really, like we say, it's Smash Accept. We don't want to be anywhere in that middle. We want to be top. We want to be bottom, and then you move into that second quadrant, weeks 5 through 8. And now all of a sudden you're like, now you're starting to understand what the 24 season looks like, what the 25 picks looks like. Things become a little bit easier. Then we move on to 9 through 12. Now you know what's up. 9 through 12 is where I'll move my first. 9 through 12 is like, all right, you know what? This is where I'm at. This is what I'm going to do. But I also always trying to get a little bit extra, So if I'm buying, if I'm giving something up, I want to get a Zach Moss thrown in the back end, or I want to get a running back, a Jordan Mason thrown in the back end, which was happening all year last year. Now those are looking like they're going to potentially be gold. Then you push yourself in. So just wanted to get that out there. Now the cool thing, we're moving into season 1, Snoop. And I know we've been dropping a lot of hints on how we go about looking at our rosters. The first thing for me is I went through and now I'm up to 20 dynasty teams. So it's a little crazy. But I go through and I'm like, all right, let's set them week 1 lineups. I want to get them set on Monday. I want to see what I have. And all year, you and I have been preaching, leave those open spots, right? So you know what you need. We're past that now. Now we got to start setting those lineups. And now when you start setting them, it's like, okay, if you've been listening to the trades that we've been telling you, if we've been listening to that advice, your rosters are ready to go. But you got to take a look at it, right? You got to say, okay, what do I have coming up here? How many teams do I have in that area? I want to talk about, making some of these trades because I've been making some fine-tuning trades here right towards the end, which I'm okay with. You know what I mean? I don't feel like it's panic mode. I feel like it's just fine tuning. A lot of people come in late and Snoog. It's like those guys that have been missing. They all of a sudden are like, oh, shoot, I have my redraft league. It's Labor Day. I'm going to start coming out, and I made a trade yesterday that I sent to you that I absolutely love on Smash Accept 3. That was the Thanos team. That was the team that had every pick. I got Love. I got Richardson. I got Bryce Young, Jared Goff. And then my wide receivers are filthy. It's Jefferson, Chase, Neighbors, plus. So a guy comes to me, he goes, Garrett Wilson and J.J. McCarthy for Bryce Young, Chris Olave, and Tajay Spears. I loved it because I'm like, I'm willing to make those moves for guys like Garrett Wilson, for guys like, Devon Achane, for the guys that are going to just smash this year, Travis Etienne, guys that I'm willing to go out there and get, and I'll make those small fine-tuning moves. So talk to me quick about that trade, and then let's talk about how you start to look at, your rosters now that we're approaching week 1.
Yeah, I love that trade because I think you're getting a sure thing superstar asset that could finish wide receiver 1 overall this year with a healthy quarterback. I don't think Chris Olave ever has the ability to finish as the wide receiver 1 overall. I just think that's where Garrett and Chris Olave have their separate gaps in talent and just the ability to make plays consistently and how they can make plays after the catch and how well-rounded their skill sets are. I think Garrett Wilson has the hedge on him there, but I love it. When I look at a trade like that, like guys like Tajay Spears don't really make any difference for me. It's just I'm looking at Garrett Wilson, and that's what I want.
He's my RB7. I have Gibbs. I blew it up. I mean, I have Gibbs, I have Bijan, I have Achane, I have Saquon. But here's the interesting thing is a guy like J.J. McCarthy, right? I think there's a real good chance that Bryce Young could increase in value. But you and I have talked about this on the last show, is he could go from QB 18 to QB 14, maybe. You know what I mean? Even if he balls out. But J.J. McCarthy's not going to drop in value. J.J. McCarthy is a quarterback that I want to be making trades for, even if I'm contending. Because, Snoop, what's going to happen 3/4 of the way through the year? People are going to start looking at it and say, oh, shoot, I'm going to miss out on the 101 because I'm scoring points with my quarterback. And someone's going to trade you for J.J. McCarthy because they want a quarterback for next year. They want those 0 points, and they're going to try to get themselves towards the 101, and they're going to pay a little bit more than what he's worth right now. And I think J.J. McCarthy is only going to increase in value. So, like, for me, that was my thought process is a guy like Bryce Young could increase, but, man, if he doesn't pop off those first 8 weeks, that value is going to dip hard. Like, there's a real-world scenario where I think Will Levis and Bryce Young flip-flop value if he doesn't pop off real early. So, love that. Now, let's talk real quick. So how do you go about looking at those rosters week one. What are some things that you're looking for? How do you go about and say, you know what? And the other thing I do is I have mine. I don't know if you're this way, Snoog. I got 20 teams. I have them broken up. The top 5 are the teams that are just going to dominate, right? I have them all. And then I have my next tier is like, okay, these guys are the ones here that are going to be like, they need a little bit of work. And then at the bottom, I got my rebuilds. That way I can go through and say, you know what? These top 5, I don't need to touch anything. These next 10, I need to make some moves. These bottom 5, now we're just, that way mentally, as you're going through each roster, you know what they're not like, okay, what's this league look like? Okay, what's this one look like? Organize it.
Yeah, exactly. And I have them all organized by the cost of the buy-in in the league as well. So it's by buy-in and it's by what I'm doing with the team. Like you said, all my dominant teams are at the top that I'm smashing. Once I get into that situation where it's kind of like, all right, these guys I could upgrade. Like I got like guys like that I don't want starting in a league that are in there. Maybe it's like a Keenan Allen or someone like that in there. I'm like, I could get better here. I could make my team better in the long run here. But I really like to look at it like week one, I look at the lineup. Do I have time? Do I have enough time that I can upgrade Tony Pollard where he can give me flex numbers for a week or two? And I'm not like in a rush to get it done by week one. But if I'm starting like friggin' Jalen Wright or like Marshawn Lloyd at flex, like someone like that, or at RB2, and I have a stacked roster, then I'm kind of in a scramble. And I'm like, all right, I need to by week 2 get this team fixed, get this hole fixed, figure out what I can do, and I start working the phones. But one thing that I've always learned with Dynasty is week 1 is the most overreactionary time for fantasy football that you will ever see in your life. I remember last year, CeeDee Lamb came out flat. And everybody was like, CeeDee's panicking over CeeDee. And I literally like bought 3 CeeDee shares last year. I didn't get him cheap, but I got him a little bit cheaper than where he was going in startups in that like second round.
75 cents on a dollar, yeah.
And then he was just absolutely insane. And then it happens year after year. It happens every year with all these guys. I mean, if you look at Kamara, he started off slow. I mean, he was on the suspension, then he came back and had a slow week 1 back off the suspension. That's 5 games. Gibbs, same thing with Gibbs. Remember everyone was freaking out over Gibbs? First 5 weeks was basically nothing. All he was doing was flashing talent. You could have got a top 6 running back from weeks 6 to 18 after that. So
yeah, and we're about to have that. We're about to have now is the fun part of Dynasty, right? Everybody's been like, Dad, Snoog, you guys have been posting a ton of redraft lately, and we wanted to get you guys in position to win. And in the Patreon, we do cover redraft now. We're really big on that. We have multiple tiers there. The highest tier, Snoog and I are actually going to give you guys our phone number and just literally text us, be like, yo, sit start this week. You want this guy or that guy? Done. Here you go. Boom. We're going to take turns on who's in charge of that. Nobody else does that. No one else is that committed to just being like, all right, here you go. This is our number. Let's take care of this for you because we want you guys to ultimately win. But it's like, Snoog, we're going to have so many trade opportunities here. Someone's going to panic because Jamar Chase might not play week 1. Yep. You know what I mean? And that's when you go and you offer Puka Nacua in a second. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, sweet, I got my wide receiver. And then Chase comes back week 2 and you just absolutely dominate. There's going to be so many opportunities. And that's why we really transition into the trades. Once we get into season here, it's like, we're going to give you those avenues where it's like, this is how you're going to make advantage. We talk about those quadrants, but we also talk about what teams look like, right?
Yeah.
Dynasty teams that are rebuilding in a good league. We did so many league reviews. It's like, hey, these top 4, middle 4, bottom 4, those middle 4 got to figure out a direction. If you're on that top 4, you should be targeting those middle 4. If you're on those bottom 4, you should also be doing that. You should be giving assets or taking assets based on that. And it's like, I'm not saying anybody has to have a clear direction. You need to just start thinking about that. By week 4, we're going to want that direction. And a lot of you guys have been sending me your rosters and be like, Dad, what do you think? You know what I mean? And there's a spot in the Patreon where we talk about that all the time, where it's like, this is your direction right now. Like, and people are like, dude, I didn't even think about that. Because you're like, if I just traded this one asset here, you know what I mean? Or I just flip-flopped and did a reduced volatility and that's something, Snoog, where I'm trying to do everywhere, right? Is like trying to get those reduced volatility trades where I give up Jonathan Taylor and Keenan Allen for, I go ahead out there and get Malik Neighbors and Joe Mixon. You know what I mean? And try to get those areas where we want those young wide receivers and we want running backs to produce. Because Snoog, I know we're going to just keep talking about it, but The 25 running back class is like 8 deep of just sexy RBs. Like I was saying Jonathan Brooks was maybe the 4 or 5 in this class. I think when it's all said and done, he might be the 6
or 7 or 8.
You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. Jonathan Brooks is an interesting one because I think he's going to ascend in value a little bit, but I think he's going to drop back down once these other guys start joining. He's a guy where I've been making some trades. You know, the other day, a guy in the Discord, we traded what was it? Brandon Ayuk and Jonathan Brooks for Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I'm all for that. You know what I mean? Because it's like you go up there, you just tear up, and now all of a sudden he's like, and now I have a running back void. Next year, his 25 first just improved. He just took that wide receiver, made it younger, made it more elite, and now he's going to replace Jonathan Brooks with an elite level running back. You know, and you're going to get yourself, man. The guy that people are not talking, Ollie Gordon, low key was phenomenal. Yeah. But everybody's talking about Junty. But Ollie Gordon I think he's going to end up being the RB1 of the class just because of his all-around skill set. We're not talking 25 rookies too much today. That just got me excited. So, like, hold off on those for sure. Next step I want to talk about, because a lot of guys have been asking about it, is how do you go about right now your waiver wires? How do you go about that throughout the season? Because people are saying, yo, Dad, come up with a waiver wire list for us. And that's so difficult because you and I play in degenerate leagues where it's 30 deep rosters, 25 and 5 taxis. And that's pretty standard. That's what we do for Smash. So then you're looking at, okay, you know, there are not a lot of assets out there. 25, okay, you got a little bit more. 20, I've seen that. PPC or FFPC does 20, and then you're like, okay, there's definitely some guys there. But talk to me about your process of how you go about doing waivers, because I have mine. I know you have yours. They're all slightly different, but it's like you have $200 fab. How do you go about right now the rest of the season? Like, let's start out with the deep leagues, 25 to 30. Like, what are you doing every single week?
Yeah, so after every Sunday, you get the Monday night game, and then you have Tuesday, and then they usually clear on Wednesday, right? Waivers in most leagues clear on Wednesday. They should. After in all my leagues they do. So I have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, usually in the morning before work, or before I go to bed at night. I go through. I'm in 20-something leagues. Most people listening are probably in under 5 to 10, so I don't want to hear any excuses.
It should be a little bit easier. That's what everybody says.
5-10 minutes at most. Filter through, look at who's there, any handcuffs anyone dropped, any backup QBs where they could be potential starters. Look at anyone that's had maybe a couple good games. Someone that just nailed it right there with an injury. Just put your fab in on whoever's performing, because you never know what's gonna happen. Like Puka, I was dumping fab on him and it was working out. Like that's what you got to do. Like you never really know what's gonna happen, but anyone that shouldn't be on the waivers, put it all in on right before bed, Tuesday night, in the morning Tuesday. Like check multiple times, and then check Wednesday night, because people will drop players, and then you can go and scoop them up for players that they're. So just have a process. It's super easy. Just stay true to the process. Pick a day during the week where you really do it. It's usually right after the games end, and then you could maybe check again before the games on Sunday, and look maybe Saturday or Friday night as well.
You and I are like, we don't even talk about this stuff, but everything needs to have a schedule. You know, it's like, I know it seems crazy, it seems rigid, but you know what? For me, I start work on Tuesdays at 11. So 9 o'clock, I'm like, wake up. All right, I'm gonna scour the wire. You know what I mean? Yeah. Set a time every week. Just say, this is when I'm gonna do this. You know what I mean? It could be Wednesday morning, it could be Tuesday night, but set a time and go through and start to look. Now, Sleeper's cool because it has your transaction trends. And that part's good. You know, you look at right now, like Samaje Perine has been added in 73.6 thousand leagues, and Keaton Mitchell 60.4. And then, you know, all the way down to you get to your Carson Steele, you know, your Jalen Tolbert, Greg Dortch, Johnny Munt, you know, like you can go all the way down. What I say to people is, you know, as soon as a guy goes on IR, right? I just traded for JJ McCarthy. Boom, instantly moved to my IR. I have a free spot. I don't care if I have to, you know, add Devon Vele. Like, I'm going to add somebody, because there's no such thing as a wasted roster spot when you're doing that. Just add the guy. What does it matter? I did that years ago with Darren Waller, Isaiah Pacheco, these guys, Jordan Mason. You know, like, we are here to just add those things because it's a lottery ticket. You just add that Carson Steele. Yeah, you add a Whittington. You add, you know, Deneric Prince. Okay, you added him. Guess what? He got cut. It doesn't matter. Like that was not a wasted spot. What's a wasted spot is when you don't add things. The cool thing that you said, and I've gone from 2 shares to 12 shares of Samaje Perine over the last month because people have dropped him. Always look to see who's being dropped. So when I go in Tuesday, I go ahead and I set all my waivers. Then Wednesday, I have a set time. All my waivers go off the same time. They all go off, at 8 a.m. So when I'm on my lunch break on Wednesday, I'll go through and say every league and say, yo, who was dropped? Oh, shoot. Someone dropped Jordan Mason. Someone dropped. No, that's not going to happen now. But it did happen in the offseason. So I was adding Jordan Mason. I was adding Samaje Perine. And for me, I'm more about adding running backs because it's not the next man up. It's the one after that. You know what I mean? Like people were dropping Dalvin Cook. People were dropping, Pierre Strong, Jamal Williams, Ty Johnson. Like these are just some guys where it's like, you know what? If there's an injury, these guys are going to have some value. It doesn't have to be, you're not going to find that diamond in the rough wide receiver, but you could find a guy that's going to put up points as a running back.
And one thing I'll always say, before you drop somebody, go get a damn rookie fourth for him. You'd be surprised how many people like who you're going to drop that would take them over a waivers player.
Yeah.
And people throw around fourths like crazy. I've been in so many leagues when I've been able to just dump fourth or bench players for fourth round picks and pick up guys I'd rather on the waivers for my bench. Free fourths. And you'd be surprised what you can do with those fourths in stacked draft classes.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I did a trade yesterday, and you got to look at if you're a rebuilding team, and I know that's my thing, so I get passionate about it. But I have 3 rebuilding teams that are coming out of it or, that are getting close. And a guy was like, yo, dude, I have Kirk Cousins. I need to have Darnell Mooney. All right. I was like, all right, just send me something. He hands me Luke McCaffrey in a 4th. Smash. I don't need Mooney. I'm rebuilding. McCaffrey has a path to relevance. Like there's this area where if you're rebuilding right now, you should be looking to sell every single one of those guys that you can get when you have someone that's going to put up a couple of points. You're going to have DJ Chark's going to have a good game, or, you're going to have a running back that serves you no purpose, like a Devin Singletary that has a good game. Look to flip those guys. This is the time, Snoog, where like when I'm fine tuning my rosters and I'm a smash contender, okay, you know what? I'm looking at it. And if I'm starting player X at running back 2, then I can go make a trade, give up next to nothing and get Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford, someone, Gus Edwards, like something to just fill in that gap as cheap as possible. And on the flip side, if I'm rebuilding, I'm trying to get those guys off my roster as soon as possible. Now, not saying you're trying to get a Joe Mixon off your roster as soon as possible, but a Gus Edwards, a Devin Singletary, a Chuba Hubbard, guys that are not going to do things long-term. Absolutely. We got to start moving those guys.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there. This is like what helps makes your team better is just the way your system works with how you run your team, how you run your waivers, how you operate trades. Dynasty is all time and time again just how quickly you can react and take advantage of the reactions of the crowd. Like if you can, like last year, this is a trade that I did that I regret, but when I picked up Puka off the waivers in my Debbie league, and I was a top contender, and I had the opportunity after, I think, 4 weeks to flip Puka for George Kittle, Jake Ferguson, and Najee Harris. And to me at the time, I'm like, all right, this guy had like 2 good games. He's a 5th round pick. Like 9 out of 10 times, this is the right thing to do. But so I took advantage of that. I took the trade, and of course Puka ends up being a superstar rookie wideout. But I won the championship with George Kittle and Jake Ferguson at tight end because I had Hunter Henry, and that was my one glaring hole. So like I don't lose sleep over it anymore. But at the time, it's like shit. I think I'm taking advantage of the market here. I think I'm right, but I'm not. And it happened with Amon-Ra St. Brown with a lot of people too. But like I said, 9 out of 10 times that is a Travis Fulgham or one of these guys that's literally going to be nothing and be off your bench in like a couple of weeks. So just keep an eye on that stuff as well.
That 9 out of 10, what's that one thing that I always say? Is process over results. It's like, so if you do it 9 times out of 10, right, and you sell Puka Nacua those 9 times, you only miss on that one, right? Because not every guy that's like that scenario who pops off week 1 is Puka Nacua. The rest of them are Rashad Bateman or a guy like that, like you said, Travis Fulgham. So we talk a lot about that's why we process all the way from the beginning, from who they are as rookies to what they look like in camp to all of a sudden to where we get to, and then that's where we make those kind of decisions. Same thing with trades. A lot of guys come to me and are like, Dad, I got burnt trading this guy last year, so I don't know if I want to get too involved with trades. I think I win 95% of the trades, at least 90%. The 10% I lose, though, I don't think about them again. You know what I mean? It's like, just get back up there again. Because someone told me, they're like, oh, well, I traded, this for that, and I lost. So I don't want to trade that unless I can recoup my value. And it's like, you got to just, if you're like Snoog and I do, it's day trading, right? You don't say, well, I'm just going to hold on to this asset until it just depreciates to nothing. No, you're going to flip it. You're going to get something on. You get right back there on that horse, and you make that next trade. And that's why we talk about insulated trades. That's really the way you win, because it's like, okay, I just made this trade where, I just see a guy, Doc in the Patreon, just traded Mark Andrews for David Njoku in a mid-25 first. So you look at that and you're like, okay, Mark Andrews is a great asset to have, right? But David Njoku is going to put up 80% of what he does. Now you get that first on top of it. Now you get two chances to win. And that's where we talk about a lot of these trades. The other thing that I really try to get added in, and something that all off season, it's like you're going to make this trade, right? You're going to trade, player X for a 25 first. Get that guy thrown in. Get that Zach Moss. Get that Chase Brown. Get that Jordan Mason. Get that Jalen Wright. Get a running back added into the back half, so you have more insulation. You have another opportunity where a guy could increase in value. And this is the time of year, Snoog, where I am literally trying everywhere, right? When I make a trade, I'm trading a running back for a wide receiver, and I was like, you know what? If I throw in a third, will you add in, Blake Corum? Will you add in, Marshawn Lloyd? Will you add in Jalen Wright? Will you add in Braylon Allen? Like, I want to get these guys in there before they pop off, because that's when you can flip them again and get double your value. Insulate wherever you can, add wherever you can, and you'll be shocked. Like, how many times do you go into a trade and you're like, you know what? Throw in a third. Sure, let's get it done. And then you use that third for something else. Or how many times you go in, just throw in Zeke. Throw in Rico Dowdle. Throw in Kamani Vidal. And they're like, all right, I want to get this done. Let's do it. I always try to get that extra piece, a little bit extra juice.
Yeah, you always got to work the phones. Like, you got to be out there just getting everything you can before you take a trade. If there's a trade that you like and you think that, like, because I have had certain people know how I am and they won't play my game. And if I start doing that, they seriously just won't do the trade.
I know.
Even if I offer the original trade. So you got to know your league mates there.
That Garrett Wilson one I did? Yeah. That guy, I know. I'm in Lindy. He's an awesome guy. I'm in 2 leagues with him. And he knows, right, that I will play the game and go back and forth and be like, yo, add this. I was going to take Tajay Spears out and make it a second. And a lot of times, I've done that with him so many times, he'd be like, I would have pulled it. You know what I mean? So, like, you got to know your league mates. Some guys like to play the game. Other guys will be like, no, this is my best offer. The heck with that.
One thing that I love to do, too, now, heading into week 1, is go around, look at all the running backs that are starting with injuries going into week 1. Christian McCaffrey's battling that calf injury. Go get Jordan Mason before the season starts. Mm-hmm. You got Jahmyr Gibbs with that hamstring injury. Go buy D-Mon. I mean, I have a signed Jahmyr Gibbs jersey on my floor right there that I could literally go pick up. It's in a case. I got to hang up behind me. He is one of my, if not my favorite player in the NFL outside of Kamara and Stroud. But if he is going to be injured, I think he's fine, but there's just that case that he could re-injure it. And if he does, Dave Montgomery's a top 10 running back. And even if he doesn't, Dave Montgomery's a top 25 running back. Yeah. So you're getting a high floor RB3, RB2. Regardless, that could have a ton of upside. Go get Blake Corum, because I know Kyron was battling that foot injury. Kyron's always damn injured. I mean, that guy, I don't think you can pay him to stay healthy. So I think Blake Corum's a great pickup. Jordan Mason's a great pickup. Dave Montgomery's a great pickup right now. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any other guys that are battling injuries at the moment. But that's what you got to do. You got to just keep an eye on everything. Stay ahead of the curve. Stay ahead of all your league mates. They'll be like, why is this guy want to buy Jordan Mason off me all of a sudden? Like, they'll think that. But just be like, I'm trying to stash a bunch of running backs on my bench. I'm thin there. And you can just make things work. I mean, go pitch fourths and thirds around and go get those guys. Because if one of those guys goes down, you're going to have a top 15 RB that you paid a third for it in 2026 or something like that. So I love doing that as well.
And that's a good, I mean, with Gibbs, the hamstring injury, historically, they're going to ease him back in a little bit more. So Montgomery's going to eat week one, and that's going to be a shootout, man. I want to watch that game. Honestly, Rams, Lions, both quarterbacks returning home. You know what I
Rams
mean?
lost
Like,
Aaron Donald
woo,
too, so you already know Gibbs and Demon are gonna be gashing him up the middle.
absolutely. I got a bunch of trades as we've been going through here. People have been sending things in. First one, Theo Darling. He wants to know he traded Trevor Lawrence and Rashi
Smash.
Rice for Jalen Hurts. That is a
Smash.
absolute smash. We've been talking about Rashi Rice a lot. And I
Stud.
think Rashi Rice is going to ascend in value, and then he's going to sharply decline in value again. So if you're looking to buy Rashi Rice, now is not the time. The time is in December. When they go to court on December 8th, that value is going to dip. So using the what's in your face now and trading Rashi Rice plus Trevor Lawrence, who I think is considerably lower than Jalen Hurts, that is huge. Jalen Hurts is way too cheap in Dynasty. I have a lot of people, sending me trades. They're like, yo, I traded Tua and a second. I'm like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Go ahead, try to tear up. Jalen Hurts is someone who I've kicked the tires in all my leagues because I feel like he is undervalued to most people. For me, I have him as my QB1 overall, right there with Josh Allen. I think both of those guys are going to be right up there at the top. Yeah. Got a one here from Smooth Criminal. Should I trade my late 25 first for my late 20? I hope that's not a first for Chuba. I would trade a 25 third for Chuba. That's about all the further. I think Chuba's going to be nice because he's going to be a volume RB2 flex for at least 8 weeks. Miles Sanders will probably work in a little bit, but just like Jerome Ford, both those guys I would pay a third for. I think they're going to be volume driven RB2 and flexes that will be a great stopgap. Snoog, I love this one sent in from Win Now and Later in the Patreon. 14 team super flex, Drake May or Roma Dunze. This one's and just so you guys know, in the Patreon we have like a kind of a mini Twitter where it's like literally you can post your trade and then have a vote section. This one was split right down the middle. So
going Drake May.
100% in a 14 team. 12 team, I think I'd still say Rome. It's close. It's close.
I was on the Rome wave, but after seeing Drake May, how he looks in the preseason when they actually play him, I'm low-key like, he's nasty.
Yeah, another one in there sent in from Dr. Lake, 10-team Superflex, full tight end premium, Xavier Worthy, and a late 25-26 first or Jaden Daniels. So you're getting 2 firsts on top of Worthy.
Smashing Worthy.
Yeah. If this is, this is a 10-team league, and I do think his current quarterbacks, and this is something that I've been talking a lot about, Snoop, is his current quarterbacks are Burrow, Kyler, Bryce, and Jaden Daniels. I am this time of year, like I am looking through, and if I have, I'm talking to one guy in the Patreon, he has, it's loaded. He's got Lawrence, and he's got Kyler, he's got Jaden Daniels, he's got Bryce Young, and it's like Bryce Young's the guy that I'm trying to trade, but there's no point for me.
If you're gonna have 4 quarterbacks, have your 2 stars, have like a Geno Smith QB3, and then have like a Gardner Minshew QB4. Like that's how you want to do it. Like have the cheapest starting QB4 you can get, just to always have 2 QBs ready to go. Like that's like that's what I try to do.
What I was advocating for him is like, okay, you have Burrow and Kyler. You can tear off Burrow if you want. You know what I mean? Like, just pick the 2 guys you want. You have Burrow, you have Kyler, you have Lawrence, you have Jaden Daniels. The 2 guys you want most, keep them. The third guy, tear off him, go down from Jaden Daniels to Jared Goff, and upgrade a position somewhere else, right? Now, all of a sudden, Jared Goff is the most stable, ideal quarterback 3 ever. He's my quarterback 3 on all my absolute smash contenders. He is, but I love having him as my 3 because I can sub him in where I have to, but I tear down. Like I don't want to tear down all the way down
and
to
then go
Derek
from Goff to Stafford.
Yeah, exactly. So you get yourself into those areas, but I like to have 2 elite quarterbacks, 1 really solid backup, and then I like to have a JJ McCarthy, a Michael Penix Jr., a Bo Nix, a Spencer Rattler. Just someone else there that's like a wild card. You know what I mean? That if I'm carrying 4, that's how I like to do it. That just seems to be the easiest way.
Or just buy CJ Stroud. If you buy CJ Stroud, you're going to get 5,000 yards and 500 fantasy points and win your league. You see,
Man, I can't.
all my
I
hype
can't
with
sell
CJ
him.
Stroud. I firmly can say that I've paved the MVP hype for Stroud because when the day I started, when I put my bet in, I think it was like over the like right when the season ended for the Texans. He was like the 7th or the 6th highest MVP odds player. He is
Hmm.
now the second favorited to win the MVP, right behind
That's crazy.
Mahomes. And
It's
I,
gonna be Mahomes, though.
dude, Vegas knows something. They know what the Texans are gonna do. Just trust Vegas and trust Snoog. And if Stroud somehow sucks this year and doesn't finish top 5, my reputation's on the line right now. So Dad's gonna fire me, get another
Yep.
guy. I'm not gonna be on the pod anymore, and you're never gonna hear from me again.
Next one. Next one. This one's sent in from Tub, and I like this one. This one's a blockbuster. So he got CeeDee Lamb and Jonathan Taylor,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave up. Now you ready for this though? This is where you got to Jameer Gibbs, Malik Neighbors, and T Higgins. So this is a shallow league. Looks like it's an 8-team league. So you got to really like talk about your studs. But I think Malik Neighbors is the next big stud. You know what I mean? So like this is an interesting one. What do you think?
I like Gibbs and Neighbors.
Yeah, getting T Higgins in there, I would throw T Higgins for a 25 first plus another asset and really just insulate there as much as possible, trying to get yourself into a situation. Drake May and this was sent in from REQ. Drake May and Jacoby Brissett or Tua. I think you still got to add.
Just because he got that big contract, but like Drake May has a higher ceiling.
Dude, this is what you do.
Drake May just don't got Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or Mike.
If you're trading for Tua, get him for weeks 1 through 8 because he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. Then sell him week 9 because historically he just falls off hardcore.
That dude can't win a playoff game to save his life.
Dude, it falls off big time. Another trade here from Rifer Matt 48. Terry McLaurin, a 25 first and a 26 first, or Kyler in a rebuild.
Terry and 2 firsts or Kyler? Give me Kyler.
Yeah. I think yes, if they were 225 firsts, I would do that. A lot of people really get wowed when they see 2 firsts, but there's a difference between 225 firsts and a 25 and a 26.
If you're giving up your own first, though, I don't want Kyler.
No. But when you're doing those kind of trades, Snoog, I look at it as like, okay, if I have a 25 first, I have a 2 out of 12 chance to have a nice, a solid looking pick. When it's a 25 and a 26 first, usually that's a savvy owner that's saying, you know what, I'm all in. Here's this year's. I want Kyler for the next 2 years. Here's 112 next year and 112 in 2025. And then all of a sudden you're like,
yeah, imagine getting Kyler for Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey, and Terry.
Yeah, like that's just not how that's supposed to be.
Jonathan Brooks.
Rydog sent in Kyle Pitts or Rashi Rice in a third.
Rashi.
See,
don't like Kyle Pitts. I
just drafted him in redraft. Oh man,
listen to this. So in on him when he was a rookie, and he is just like, to me, he's just like, I don't know. I see the ceiling there. Just give me George Kittle cheaper.
Yo, shout out to Shady Maple Smorgasbord. That's why you guys
give me these guys that actually are gonna be good.
You guys got to come out there. But my work league, right? I was at Hershey Park with my son, and I drafted Tyreek Hill fell to 7, right? And we're doing redraft. Garrett Wilson fell to the 2nd round, and my internet cut out, so it took Josh Jacobs for me. And all of a sudden, we got to a spot where I could not get any internet at all, and I set my queue list. And Snoog, it took from rounds 10 to round 15 all my backup running backs that I had: Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Jordan Mason. So I have all these backups. So I think I might actually lose my work league, which is sad because they're going to be like, oh, this guy that runs a podcast is going to get dominated. I'm literally looking at trades here where I just want the best level assets I can get, the guys that I want to get to put myself into contention. And we're going to be talking about that. I got my buys coming out later this week. I know we're going to be talking about trades all off season. There's just been so many trades going through in the Discord chat. There's an entire section for just trade talk, as well as Snoog's rooms and my rooms, but the guys just talking their own trades, saying, you know what, this is what I have. What would you guys do here? You know what I mean? You always have access to us, but then there's guys in there that are like Scarface that are in there just like talking shop, like thinking about it. And the more people get involved, the more they talk about trades, the more they're part of a community, the sharper everybody gets. Because last year, I know for a fact, guys that were in there were absolutely smashing titles. It's the best place to be right now, not only, just for your redraft, and your dynasty for sure. You know what I mean? Like you can put yourself in a position where you're going to win now and win long term. So Snoog, anything else here before week one? Because we're going to be hammering podcasts. We're going to be hammering YouTube pages. We're just going to be like absolutely smashing content for you guys. But we wanted to just bring you one where it's like, all right, we got week one. How do we go about looking into these rosters? Let's get those things going. Guys have been asking, where is the Discord? The way you get to the Discord is you go to patreon.com/smash accept. They go from $5 up to $20 tiers, but the $5 tier gets you the Discord, gets you access to us. You put that in, and there you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to flash that on the board.
You can also go to our link in bio as well, and on Twitter. It's in my bio. It's in Dad's bio, and then you just sign up, get the Discord link right away, and then you're good to go.
For sure. So that is down there at the bottom. It's patreon.com/smash accept. That will get you into those situations where we can help you with your trades. We can help you with all of your sit starts. We can do all those different things. I've been posting my weekly rankings again, Snoog. I've been updating my dynasty rankings. I love redraft, but I'm glad to be kind of moving from talking about redraft, trying to get yourself set to dynasty. Let's do those trades. Let's smash some trades together. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process.
Boom.